I'm Elena White. Most of y'all know me. You do not, and you do not. But I'm chairing this for Downtown Withville, and this came out of last year's program of work. But there was not enough time to get it pulled together and do it with excellence last year and have funding, and for the students to have time to actually not be rushed and everything, and it would just been very rushed. So we decided to wait and do it this year. So hopefully you're going to be the first of many years of doing this. I work with the New Youth Initiative. I work with FBLA at George Wythe still, even though our children have graduated, and I enjoy it. I enjoy watching what that program can do, and this is kind of an extension of that, marketing and DECA and all of your classes that go with keyboarding and CIS and everything. So with this program, we are excited to see the sky's the limit. You can do what you choose, obviously. I mean, that's what you've turned in, something that you're passionate about, something that you feel like you can do well with. So we're excited to see where you can take it. We're excited to see what you are going to be taught today. How will that change your direction? How will that change your thought process? It will help. I love entrepreneurship. It will help you no matter what area of work you go into, whether you're going to be an entrepreneur, whether you're going to go into business administration, no matter what you're going to do. It's part of a business. It's part of a greater business. So anything you learn in these classes will also help you down the road when you finish school and you start into the work field, whether it's owning your own business or working for someone else. But we are here to help you in any way we can. We have teachers at the schools that are willing to help you if you can't get to one of us, and we plan on partnering you with someone in your field of study so that you can have one-on-one help if you so choose to use it. So we're excited. I'm glad y'all are all here, and we're excited that you've jumped in with this new endeavor, and good luck.
We do have a lot of information to cover. We are squeezing in what a lot of times we do with entrepreneurs and new businesses that we do in a matter of 6 weeks, we're covering in 4 hours. Y'all are ready, right? And here are some copies of the stuff we made for you guys, if you want that. So thank you. And before you leave, don't even forget, I have some Google merchandise to give you as well. Okay? So I will ask questions, and I will talk to you. We're excited about that, right? So the blue folder that you do have has a lot of stuff in it that I'm going to go over throughout this entire day, not all at one time, so you do get a break. My contact information with my card is in there. The left-hand side is primarily extra templates to be able to utilize and help you through this process. The right-hand side really is more the presentation and templates that I'm going to be going through, okay? So let's see if we can get this going. Morgan touched base. We get funding through Small Business Administration. George Mason University, lots of partners. That's not really why you're here, so we're just going to keep on going. We do operate primarily doing business planning. That's the number one thing. Access to capital, it's really about connecting potential business owners with loan opportunities. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and a map of where our centers are across Virginia. So what is entrepreneurship to you? Anybody? Nobody? Yeah, we're going to have to think about that, right? What are ways you would describe entrepreneurship? Creating your own business. Innovative. What else? And I do want to say that they were right, and exactly what you said too, that the skills you learn in entrepreneurship classes are widespread into many disciplines. And so whether you end up working for someone else or do have your own business, entrepreneurship, owning your own business is really about wearing every hat versus a few hats, okay? So some of the things, can it be an adventure? Hopefully it is. Definitely unpredictable. Does it take time? Yeah, it takes a lot of time. The joke with a lot of entrepreneurs is, which 18 hours a day would you like to work? Does take money, at least some type of money. You do need to have some type of experience in the field. It doesn't necessarily have to be, I've done this, so I'm going to open this type of business. But maybe some of those management skills will help with it. Creativity, because you've got problems to solve. And most importantly, there's always action. So a business plan, what you can really think about is an action plan. And that action plan is going to change over time. It's not going to be the same day in and day out. So I consider entrepreneurship to be a passion, persistence, and doing what you love. So if you don't love it, can you go work at it 18 hours a day? No, you got to like it somehow, in some way. And it's also a way of thinking. It's a mindset. So it's not just I own this business, I'm going to go in every day. It's really, it's sort of how everything in your life kind of gets, I guess, shaped as you move forward. Okay. Yes, I do have a fun activity we're going to talk about. So, you see the one on the right-hand side that has the dots on it? This one right here? All right. Raise your hand if you've done this one before. You have? You're going to win. You don't remember? All right. What I'd like you to do is I want you to connect all 9 dots using no more than 4 straight lines without lifting your pencil or pen, whatever you're using. If you need to redraw the dots, you can. Like if you want to turn around on back and redraw them, you can do that. Does that make sense? I guess I better keep this so I can keep myself on time. I had to remind myself too, if that makes you feel any better. And I would say no more than 4 lines, right? Because a lot of my directions actually say 4 lines, so I'm giving you a little bit of a hint. It's okay. Y'all ready for me y'all ready for us to move on? Just somebody shake their head. Okay. So I have 2 ways. When I look at that, or when you're looking at it, I'm a mover and he's got this camera on, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be out of the block half the time, just so you know. When I get something like that and it's got the box on it, I think that I have to stay in the box. Do you need to stay in the box? You don't have to. Y'all are going to love my drawing here for just a minute. So what if I did diagonal lines and made them really big? So that's one way of doing it, right? The other way is you kind of end up with this triangle. So if you start in a corner and you go to the other corner, and then you come down, but you still have to go outside of the box. And you gotta go outside the box again and then come back. So what's the point of that no matter what? Either way. You gotta go outside the box. How many times have y'all been told that in your life? But it is a true statement, especially in your own business, because what may come to you on a day-to-day basis, you think, well, how am I going to solve this? What's going to happen? And we're going to talk about conflicts and opportunities a little bit later. But that's where, creativity, unpredictability, all of these things are really tendencies, natures, characteristics of successful entrepreneurs. Okay? So, we're just going to dive right in. What do y'all know about supply and demand?
That they reach like a certain equilibrium at one point where your supply is consistent.
Right. So what happened with fidget spinners? Okay, they were really high demand, right? There were people paying quite a bit of money for them on Amazon. What's happened now? They're super cheap. You can get them in the Dollar Tree. Is the demand really high anymore? No. Now, I'm talking about a trend, not something that has longevity, but it's a good example to show, high demand, low supply, high price, and the opposite, okay? Y'all already told us about you, so we'll skip that, and we're gonna go into the business plan itself. All right, what do y'all think a business plan is? Good job, it is. It's a written form of it, and there's lots that goes into it, right? You gotta brainstorm different things, you gotta do some research. It's that planning document. Helps you identify some challenges that you may have along the way. And also, you've got to think, does it fit your goals? Does the business that you're looking at doing fit your personal goals? And that's the part that you need to remember throughout the process and in owning a business. All right, this is my favorite analogy about a business plan as well. I would love to travel. I would love to travel the world. I would love to be able to go anywhere, everywhere that I want to without a time frame, but I would have to win the lottery to do that. I do not have an endless supply of money. I also do not have endless vacations. I've got to plan my route. What's going to happen though if I get over there in Oklahoma and I get a flat tire? Does my plan get derailed some? Yeah. I might have to stay an extra day, and I might have to skip that little trip down to San Antonio because it just happens. So things are going to happen even when you have the best laid plan put on paper. Don't be disappointed in it. Don't be frustrated with it. Be ready to roll with the punches. Okay? Talked about that written part. These are the sections we're going to go over throughout my sessions today. Right now we're going to cover this written part. You do have a template in your folder about the written part. You also have financial templates, and every one of these sections are listed, as well as what I would call kind of a teaser question, teaser paragraph in regards to what you're expected to put in that section. Okay? Just for your information, I don't know what you all know, and for time constraints, I may just put some stuff out there that y'all already know. Income statements, basically what we're going to do is estimate your revenue and expenses. All right? Do y'all know have y'all had to write executive summaries before? What are they?
It's basically like after you write your business plan, you go back and write your executive summary over what you already written.
Right. Highlights, right? And again, you said after you've written it. So while it comes first, it's written last. Why do you write it last?
Because you can't summarize a business plan when it's written.
Right. Why do you put it first?
Because it will summarize the business plan that you wrote. That way
It
you don't have to read through it.
gives your reader the highlights. All right. So a lot of what I do is business planning, giving to lenders, and those lenders go how much money they want and what they want to do. That's their two major questions. So we summarize that in an executive summary, and then we move on to the other detailed information. All right, so if you're going to business description, you got to be able to tell the reader or yourself what you're doing, right? So I've got two examples for you. I want to open an arcade and entertainment center. So tell you what I want to do. Does it give you enough detail? Probably not. So, Archer's Games will be a family-friendly entertainment establishment located in Wythe County. Archer's Games will include old and new arcade games, virtual reality, pool tables, mini bowling, glow-in-the-dark mini golf, and a snack bar. Sound fun? I just need to win the lottery and I'll open it for you. Deal? Okay. What's the difference there? I listed some of the specific types of games and services because an arcade and entertainment center, there are a lot of different things can go into that. Are you going to serve food? Or are you not? So what types of services, what types of things are going to go into that overarching business idea? And while you don't necessarily say that you're doing a clothing store, you don't necessarily have to list every piece of type of clothing you're going to have, but maybe it is leisure, athletic, dress for children, women. So it's got to be focused somewhat on that different business idea, okay? And what I'm going to say is we've got time at the end for questions. If there's something super burning, go ahead and say it out loud, but we're trying to run through stuff, so if not, why don't y'all use the pads, write it down, and even if we don't have time at the end, I will send you an email with information, okay? Okay, who's that management team? Everybody raise their hand. Y'all are the management team, right? Y'all are the first one in line. Everybody. So you've got to go tell them what your experience is that's going to make it okay that you're going to be able to run this business successfully. Do you have experience in the industry? Maybe you don't have experience in the industry. Maybe you've never been an entrepreneur before, but maybe you have worked in, maybe I worked in the entertainment industry for 15 years as a manager. And I've seen how what's been successful and what's not. Or maybe I worked in a movie theater or something of that nature. Taking your experiences and sort of, paralleling them to what you have. And also key employees. So you're going to have other people associated with your business, especially if you have employees. What are their roles in that? Maybe you are not the accounting guru, but you're going to have somebody else do your books. That would be a good place to put that information. My mom, my dad, my aunt, my sibling, somebody is a bookkeeper, and they're going to be helping me take care of those things. Okay? All right, so let's talk about that target customer and who those might be. You do describe who your ideal customer is. You do that geographically and demographically as well. Do y'all know what I mean when I say that? Anybody? Geographic radius, right? Area. Demographics, female, age, male, family unit, not a family unit. There are also ways to come up with average expenditures in that particular industry. What the income is for that particular target audience. If that's something you want, if you would like to call me or send me an email, that's part of what small business development centers have access to, is free information such as that. Some of it is free to you. Look on, is that more U.S. Labor Department? Department of Labor. Yeah. So maybe my target customer for Archer's Games are families and independent teens and young adults. Families with 9 to 14-year-olds, independent teens, young adults that are 15 to 35-year-olds. That could be a very specific target market. I may need to break that down differently for other purposes. Then you also have other potential customers. Who are my other potential customers for my game room? What's something we could do? Say that again? Parties, corporate outings, team building, things like that. So, what do I want to do to make all of that happen? Competition. Who would be my competition for Archer's Games? Chuck E. Cheese. Is there a Chuck E. Cheese here? Where's my closest one? Probably Bluefield. Okay. What else? KOA. What do we have at KOA? Do they really? See, I learned something new. That's right, they do. What else? Marion Drive-In. It's starting to look a little bit shady for me for Archer's Games. If I could be successful, right? So one thing you all have already established, and I am very proud of you for that, is there is competition. Sometimes it's not necessarily direct. Yes, there's movies, there's outdoor activities. Maybe there's a skating. I don't know if y'all still have a skating rink. If Bluefield does, no, that's sad. Concert, do what?
Marion's got a bowling.
Marion does, right? What about where are y'all spending your time at?
Walmart parking lot.
Walmart parking lot. It's a lot cheaper, isn't it? So that's a cheaper alternative. Where do we spend our time? So that's one of the things that I always try to talk about when we talk about that competition, is it may not be exactly direct. Maybe there's not another arcade in Wythe County, but there is plenty of things for people to spend their money on. So are they going to spend their money with me, or why are they going to spend their money with me and my business? Advertising plan, you've got somebody that's coming in to talk about marketing later, so I was not going to dig into the weeds on this one. It's how of course you let other people know about your business. The only thing I will say is word of mouth always will be the #1 tool for your business. What has social media done to that? Is absolutely changed the face of word of mouth. Because instead of me telling 10 people how bad my experience was, I can tell my 500 friends. I know y'all have a lot more than that, but whatever you do, Snapchat or Facebook, there's just a way for that to get out a whole lot quicker about bad customer service, bad product, whatever that may be. All right, what are acquisitions? Do y'all know? What do you need to make it happen? So, purchase of equipment, inventory, furniture, fixtures, and you want to be able to identify any of that type of information. Do you already own that? Do you have access to it through a family member? Do you need racks for the clothes? I've got to purchase all these arcade games and pool tables. It's going to be pretty expensive. Where am I going to do that? Do I have to purchase a building, or am I going to rent something? So you don't necessarily have to think about all the office supplies, but you do want to think about those large items. Kind of our rule of thumb when we're advising someone in writing this is, if you need it to operate the business on a day-to-day basis, then it's probably something you need to include in your equipment list, right? And you can't necessarily run out to Walmart and get it. Maybe you need to order it and find it. So, are you going to run your business from home, or do you need a place to run it? Anybody? And I didn't ask you all what your business ideas were, and I did that on purpose because I didn't know if you wanted to share your secrets. I wasn't positive, so if y'all want to make a new one up, that's fine. We can do that as well.
You guys are already locked in, so it really doesn't matter.
Okay, it doesn't. Anybody want to share? No, we want to keep talking about Archer's games. Okay, so I got to have a building. I can't do that out of a house, right? Probably not a good idea. So I need a brick and mortar location. How much space do I want? Now, you all are in a very unique situation when you are putting together your business plan. You're not necessarily going out and saying, this spot at 100 North Main Street is where I'm going to put my business. But you may be able to know what type of location you need, or maybe you're going to be able to work that business from home. So my advice to you when putting together this information is to kind of have an idea of maybe how much square feet, maybe where in town you want to be. If it's a brick and mortar, do you want to be over here kind of in a shopping center? Do you want to be on Main Street? What will work best for you? Is it out of your house? Is it an e-commerce business? Do you even have to have a location? And then, something to think about is, does your locality allow you this type of business to operate from a residence? Very interesting, in the city of Galax, a cosmetologist cannot run a cosmetology they can't have a chair and do that type of business out of their house. Why do y'all think? So they have a cosmetology license, but there's not necessarily, because of traffic, so a lot of times zoning and like where businesses are have to do with the amount of traffic that goes through a location. So, trust me, I know people that cut hair out of their house. So I'm not telling on anybody, that happens. But for them to run like a full type of, hey, we're going to have 3 chairs, I'm going to have 3 cosmetologists, that type of thing is not allowed within the city limits. So that's usually a quick question ask if that's something that you need to look at. But it's something you need to look at in the beginning throughout your life if you're looking at doing a business.
And Chris will get into zoning a little bit more detail.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, I should have checked on that one. A little bit later, we're going to go over, have y'all ever heard of a SWOT analysis? Ooh, I'm hearing seeing head shake. Maybe a few. So it talks about the company and what may be good. So we're going to get a little bit more detail this in one of the later presentations that I'm doing. And again, Chris is going to be coming up and talking about organizational and government regulations. What I wanted to do was just make sure that each one of these were in my presentation based on the order they are in your guideline. Okay? And are you going to touch base on like specific licensing?
I was going to cover just briefly B-pole licenses.
Yes.
And some zoning and like certificate of occupancy. Just some
Okay.
very basic local considerations.
All right. So what I would say on the other side, on the government regulations as well, you've got local considerations. Also think about, just like I talked about cosmetologists, they have to have a license to practice that, right? A truck driver has to have certain licenses. They have to have CDL and some other registrations. So whatever type of business you're doing, just make sure there's no special certification or license needed for that particular business industry. Okay? And that's different than general business operation. I'm working on it, Morgan.
You're okay. We're just going to be flexible. This 30-minute break might get broken up into
A couple one.
little smaller breaks.
All right. Do you know exactly how you're going to charge for your services or product? Probably not, but something you need to think about, right? That's part of the whole process. Do you charge hourly? Are you going to, we use the term keystone. Basically, are you going to double it? Or are you going to triple it? So a lot of times retail, they typically use what's called a keystone method. They buy it for $1, sell it for $2. That gives them a little bit of flexibility if they need to do a sale. Jewelry is usually like what we call a 3 keystones. There's certain industries that have certain standards, but you still have to come up with that specifically. And I'm going to go into the pricing a little bit more during the financial stuff. Where do you plan on obtaining that money for the acquisition, startup costs, and operating capital? Do y'all have the personal cash? Are you going to obtain a loan from someone or from a lending institution? Savings might be a little bit different. I said that term. Maybe it's something that's not easily accessible. Investor and loan might be different. Do y'all know what the difference in that could be?
An investor, the loan you have to pay back, and within a certain amount of time, an investor watches your business grow, essentially,
They do.
and you have to pay them back with a
Different type of interest. So they also could have a stake in your business. You may have to give them part ownership in order for them to invest in it. So it's just kind of a quick terminology difference. And then, of course, you all may want to include any attachments that are specific to your business that can be helpful. If you do have a resume, even though your management section may have a mini resume, you may want to include more information and more certificates. It's not required. It's an optional area to put that. Maybe you've been guaranteed a funds. Maybe you've already been guaranteed a loan from someone, a family member. You'd want to put proof of that documentation in there because, and that's especially if it's going to someone else in helping you get that business open. Okay?
All right. Thank you for all having me. I haven't timed this, so I don't know if I'm going to be way under or way over. But I know a little bit about your all's projects. I don't know if business structure is actually part of your business plan or not, but I was talking with Todd a couple of months ago, and I thought, there's a lot of small businesses that run into some of these issues. I would love to give a presentation to our existing businesses that are out there right now. And so I think this is good that I even created this so I can reuse it later on. But part of my job as town attorney is going after businesses sometimes, and these are some of the weaknesses that I found. And hopefully y'all can think about them if and when you set up a business, that you can protect yourself. Protect your business, because you might have a great idea and you might have a great product, but if you don't organize, or if you get into business with the wrong people, you hire the wrong employees, they can really sink your ship. So just real quick about me, I went to Appalachian School of Law in Grundy. I've worked in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I worked in Nashville for a while. I did commercial real estate until 2017. My in-laws up here got me interested in the job that was opening up here, and that's what brought me here to Wistful. To talk about business organization, I need to do just a quick overview into the law of agency, and then we'll get into some of the business entities, and then I'll get into some local considerations that when you actually open up your business, you need to at least call the town or the city or the county where you're going to be and just ask them some basic questions. So an agency is just a relationship between two people. So the principal is the person who requests the agent to go and do something for them. And the principal is going to be bound by whatever that agent does. However, there's some rules on what the agent is supposed to do. They're supposed to act with reasonable care and competence. And not, just go completely off the wall, do something wacky. And I've tried to put in some examples here. Each one is a TV show. They should be pretty obvious. If you know the TV show, go ahead and just shout it out. But so. I mean, it was probably off air before, some of them may have been born. But so Jerry has a T-shirt business, and he's running low on shirts. So Jerry asked his friend Kramer to go to the store and buy 5 shirts. So who's principal? And who's the agent? All right. So Kramer goes to the store and buys 50 shirts. Is that what Jerry asked for? No. So is Jerry on the hook for the 50 shirts? Yeah, that one probably is. Now, not all of these questions are going to be a simple yes or no. I tried to come up with some ones that I don't know, just maybe try to make you think. Now, an agent, of course, has authority from the principal to go do something, whatever that action is. There's actual authority and there's apparent authority. We'll get into apparent authority next. Actual authority is that principal intentionally confers on the agent, or that the agent reasonably believes that he has as a result of the agent's dealings, if they've worked together in the past. So in this example, Ted runs a cafe where his friend Barney hangs out. So, TV show? Does anybody know that one? Ted and Barney? No? How I Met Your Mother? All right. So Barney hangs out at Ted's cafe all the time. They are friends. Ted is short-staffed one day when the lunch rush hits. So Barney decides to step around the counter and man the cash register and take orders and payments. And this is not completely filled out, but Barney, let's say Barney forgets to charge for some of the meals. Is Ted on the hook for that? I think so. If this happens just once a year, do they have an agency relationship? If it happens once a week, is it more often? They have more of a course of dealing? I think if it happens more often, I think there's more of an argument that they have a agency relationship and there's an actual authority there. Apparent authority is authority that a third party reasonably believes an agent has based on the third party's dealings with the principal, even if the principal did not actually confer the authority. So this is where there's a history between the parties. This can be created just by law and by course of dealing, even when there's no actually authority conferred. So in this example, every Friday, Tony sends Polly and Silvio to the deli to pick up his favorite capicola ham. Polly waits outside while Silvio goes in to pick it up. But this week, Polly takes his brother, Christopher, instead of Silvio. The deli owner sees Polly waiting outside just as usual, so he figures he can give Christopher the capicola ham. But Christopher takes it home and eats it himself. Does anybody know the TV show? This one's a little bit older. This is one of my favorites. This is Sopranos. So who's the principal? Tony. All right. And who's the agent? We may have more than one here. Polly's an agent. Silvio's an agent. Is Christopher an agent? Probably not. So, does Christopher have any authority? He doesn't have actual authority. Does he have apparent authority? And the apparent authority is going to be based on the third party's perception. It's not whether there's any actual authority given by Tony, but the deli owner, he's thinking that this is the way this works every week. Polly comes and he sees this, happening. So is there a reasonable belief from the deli owner? I think that one there may be. But again, a lot of these are not black and white. So based on who you have in your business as a co-manager or employees, they're going to be agents for you, and they can really get you in a bind if they, sort of do something wacky. They order too much, or they don't pay, the bills if they're in charge of things. You can get into some trouble. So now we'll get into the business entities. The first one is just sole proprietor. This is just a one person working by themselves. You don't have to do any paperwork. This is just automatically created by default when you go out and just do work. In this example, Homer opens up a barber shop. He buys barber chairs and equipment. He hangs a sign above the door that reads Top Cuts LLC. Mo comes in for a haircut, and Homer accidentally cuts Mo's ear. So Mo decides to sue Top Cuts LLC. What business entity has Homer formed? He put a sign up that said LLC, but as far as we know, that's the only thing he's done. So right now, he's just working on his own. Right now, he'd probably be a sole proprietor. If Mo wins his lawsuit, can Mo take Homer's barber chairs? and his equipment in his building. Yeah. What about going after Homer's personal car? If he gets a judgment for, $1 million.
He's suing the business, not the person.
But the business doesn't have any licenses to actually make it separate business.
Well, yeah, right now, sole proprietor is just you're operating on your own, and you're liable for all of the debts of the company. So right now, he'd be exposed. So that's why it's important to file something to get yourself protected. The next one is a general partnership. Again, this is another business entity that just is created by default without any sort of paperwork with the state. A general partnership is an association of two or more people to carry on as co-owners of business for a profit. So in this example, Monica and Rachel live next door to each other. On a hot Saturday afternoon, Monica decides to sell lemonade, and Rachel decides to sell popsicles. When they see each other outside, they silently nod to each other and decide, let's put our stands next to each other to attract more business. So have they formed a partnership? They've got no paperwork between them. They didn't even say any words to each other, no handshake. They probably still do. There's nothing required. There's no paperwork required here. It's just if you get together and decide, let's try to do this for money, even if it's just sort of implicit, I think that creates a partnership. So Joey gets sick off of a popsicle and sues Monica. Now, Monica is the one who decided to sell lemonade. Is Monica liable for the bad popsicle? Mm-hmm. Yep. A general partnership, both partners are going to be exposed to the liability of the others. So that's kind of a risk there. Example continued. Despite the lawsuit, they decide to grow the business. Monica wants to expand into iced tea, but Rachel doesn't. Monica orders $1,000 worth of tea bags, but doesn't pay. So is Rachel liable for the tea bag bill? I think probably so. If they're still doing business together, the question might be, was the iced tea within sort of the scope of their business, or was it too far removed that, you might think it's different? Again, no, not necessarily black and white answers, but something to think about. I think probably iced tea would be in line of lemonade and popsicles, but something to think about. A joint venture, you probably won't see these very often, but I put it in there with partnership because they often get lumped together with partnerships. A joint venture is pretty much just a partnership that is for a short duration or a short project. In this example, Walt and Jesse are at Virginia Tech, and they're huge LA Lakers fans. So they decide they want to go to a game, and they want to raise money for flights, hotel, and tickets to go see LeBron James, who's in a lot of trouble on Twitter right now. They hire themselves out by putting W&J mover signs around campus. They help people move in and out of their dorms, moving couches, TVs, fridges, and that sort of stuff. In my example, it didn't finish on here, but Jesse helps his uncle move a dresser. Now, his uncle lives in Bristol. Jesse breaks the dresser, and his uncle sues Walt. Can he recover against Walt? Maybe. Now, the uncle lives in Bristol, and he's not on Virginia Tech campus.
Or the thing with the company together, so it should have been between Walt and Jesse to decide if he should have gone to Bristol in the first place.
Well,
Because
Does anybody think he doesn't recover? I don't know. I think it kind of depends. But the joint venture is for specifically on campus, or is it open enough to be moving, anywhere? So I'm not sure about that one. Limited partnership. These are the ones you're getting into where you are going to have to probably file something with the State Corporation Commission. And these, whenever you see, limited or liability in the name, this is where you're going to get into more protections. This is a partnership composed of one or more persons who control the business and are personally liable for the partnership's debts, and one or more persons who contribute capital and share profits, but who cannot manage the business and are liable only for the amount of their contribution. So you may have heard about limited partners or silent partners. They're the ones who all they want to do is just put in funding, but they don't want to actually manage the business, so they're not exposed to the liability. So you've got a general partner exposed and one limited partner who's shielded. In this example, Walt and Jesse again, but this time Jesse is the mover. Walt buys Jesse furniture dolly, back brace, furniture skid pads, moving boxes, and other supplies. So Walt is not doing any of the moving, he just bought all the supplies. Jesse drops Hank's TV, and Hank sues Jesse and Walt. Can Hank recover against Walt? What if Walt is the one who took the appointments and arranged Jesse's moving schedule? He's got a little bit more of a hands-on there if he's actually managing the business. But if he just helped buy the equipment, probably less so. But if he's actually engaged in the business, taking schedule appointments and stuff like that, he might be. Now, limited liability partnerships. So they added a second L. A limited liability partnership is a partnership in which a partner is not liable for a negligent act committed by another partner or by an employee not under the partner's supervision. So in this one, all the partners are shielded from liability of the others. Stan, Kyle, Cartman, and Kenny decide to open a nightclub. They organize as an LLP, each putting in $25,000. Cartman hires a contractor to fix up an old building for their club. Cartman and the contractor get into a heated argument, and Cartman runs the contractor off, leaving $45,000 of bills unpaid. So the contractor sues each partner. And who is liable? Cartman probably is. Any of the other partners who weren't there? Because that'll leave, if the contractor gets his $45,000 judgment against Cartman's portion, they'll leave $20,000 he's trying to collect from the other three partners.
It probably doesn't matter to Kenny's level, not liable or not, he's gonna die.
Yeah, Kenny won't make it through the example, I'm sure. But if it's a limited liability partnership, the partners probably are shielded from the other acts of the partners. But we'll see. Limited liability company. All right, now this is probably the most popular right now because they're so easy to set up and they're so flexible with how you can set them up. I would recommend probably most people go with an LLC. You can set them up in about 5 minutes, and it's about $100 to set up, so they're quick and easy. It's a company created by state statute that is characterized by limited liability, management by members or managers, and limitations on ownership transfer. So you can have what it means by management by members or managers. You can have a single member LLC that's just one person. You can have multiple members. You can set it up to where you have a board of supervisors that oversees a CEO, and the board of supervisors tells the CEO what to do. Lots of different ways you can structure it. In this example, George Bluth invents a deep fryer called the Cornballer, which becomes very popular. The Bluth family sets up an LLC with Lucille, Michael, Job, Lindsay, and Oscar on the board of directors. George is the CEO. So the board of directors, they just meet every once in a while, they make decisions, and they tell the CEO what to do. The Cornballer starts to develop defects, burning lots of customers, and they face lots of lawsuits. Who is personally liable? Do you think George is? Does anybody think board of directors? I think in this one, I think they've set up a good organization, so I think probably none of them are personally liable. Of course, the LLC will probably have to pay to fend off the lawsuits, but I don't think anybody's going to lose their home on this one. And that one was actually an episode on Arrested Development. Corporations. There are S corps and C corps, and the difference in those is really just, I think, taxes. But a corporation is an entity having authority under law to act as a single person distinct from the shareholders who own it and have rights to issue stock and exist indefinitely. So a corporation is almost like a standalone organization besides the people. And I am running out of time here, so I'm going to breeze through this. Shareholders are the actual owners of the company. And then there's a board of directors that, again, is sort of the brains of the organization. And the officers, like the CEO, they just actually carry out the actions of the board of directors. Nonprofits are really not that much different than other business organizations. The difference is you're going to need to go to the IRS and the state to get tax deferred treatment, but otherwise you're going to organize much the same way as you would. Local regulations that you want to think about when you actually decide to open up your business. There's a local business license called Business Professional Occupational License. It's a fee charged by the locality. Each locality is going to have different categories of business licenses, so contractors and hairdressers and dog groomers, they may all have something a little bit different, and it's going to be calculated probably based on what your revenues might be, what you expect them to be, but just call your locality first. Zoning regulations, within a locality there are going to be different zones: agriculture, residential, business, industrial. You may be allowed to do something in one zone but not in another. So when you find a property that you like, make sure that it's zoned correctly for what you want to do. Even if you want to open up a home business, there are still going to be some zoning issues with your where your house is located, because you might start off with a home business that's just you, but then if you hire employees, you may have 10 employees and maybe 10 cars parked outside your house every day, so you may run into some issues there. A certificate of occupancy is kind of in with the zoning stuff, but the local building official is going to make sure that the building that you've chosen is appropriate for what you want to do. So if you're going to operate a huge scale restaurant, you can't do that, in your basement. Or if you're going to have deep fryers or stuff like that, you got to have proper ventilation, but stuff like that. Bed and breakfasts, towns talked about that recently. They have to be inspected to make sure that there's smoke detectors and fire extinguishers and fire exits and stuff like that for the people who are going to be staying there. Are there any questions?
We talked about two major parts of the business plan. What was the first part? All that. Do what? I'm sorry? Go ahead. What was that first part?
I said executives summary, then I changed my mind, but I think that's what we're talking about.
It was all the written part. So when I talk about a business plan, I classify it into two sections. I classify it into a written part and a financial part. What do y'all think that financial part is trying to tell us? How much it's going to cost? Maybe some other things too. Oh, look, right there. Is that in yours? It is? Okay, good. It's not in mine. So that's the password for the spreadsheet that is on your jump drives if you need to change it for any reason. It always talks about, no matter what, when you're a business, cash is king. Cash is what keeps it going. And so the financials, most of the time when you're doing a very large, in-depth business plan for a banking purpose, many times you're going to do your startup costs, capital request, your profit and loss statement or income statement, revenue assumptions, cash flow, which is different, and balance sheets. You all are not going to prepare necessarily all of that information. The reason I'm telling you that is because I need you to be aware all of those documents are important. They're important in the operation of business, but based off of what you guys are doing, they're asking you all for not as much, okay? So they're asking you all for what your startup needs are. When you do those startup needs, you remember we talked about you got to figure out how you're going to finance it. So if you're going to finance it, maybe you have all the money yourself. Fabulous. You don't have to borrow anything. If you do have to borrow something, you need to know what those loan assumptions are going to be. And then you're doing what we call a projected income statement. Because if you already know what you've sold and what your expenses are, your income statement is for that time period. You don't know yet. You're making assumptions. So you're doing a projected income statement. So let's start out. Do you all have those spreadsheets that were on that right-hand side? Yeah. Actually, I've got one right here. All right. So this first one right here talks about sources and uses. Okay, I think so. Sources is where you're getting the money from. Are you getting it from a loan? Are you getting an investment, equity, other places? And then, of course, what are you going to use it for? So this is, oh, there's that sheet right there. Look, I had it. So this is a fillable Excel spreadsheet on your jump drive. There's also lots available to you. I will let you all work that out with the downtown Withville folks and how they're going to move forward with that. This is an example of one filled out for my game room. I'm starting out really small. I've decided I probably can't do everything that I wanted to do. I've got $7,500. So that is my owner's equity. That's my cash up there. Does that, oh look, nope, that don't work on there. But I'm going to need to get a loan. So I put $10,000 in for that loan. And then my uses, do y'all know the difference, like what an asset is? An asset is typically a tangible item. So when you're talking about those acquisitions that you're looking at trying to do, an asset is the tangible equipment. It's my pool tables. It's my games. It might be my shears or my cutting things if I'm a cosmetologist, all my curling irons and various things like that. I may also need some furniture, and that's what FF&E stands for, because I need places for people to sit. I need some tables, things like that. And then over here on my startup cost, well, I decided I'm going to rent. I'm not going to buy a building, but I've got to pay a deposit on that. I've got to have insurance. I've also got to pay utility deposit because the power company does not let me just open. They want money from me as well. And so I've just kind of listed some different expenses. Do y'all see right here? So my total money sources is $17,500. My total assets, needs, and startup needs is $15,525. So $19,775 is what I have left. So what am I going to use that for? We refer to it as working capital. Do you think the power bill may be due before I get revenue? I may need more equipment. I may need to go buy some snacks for my snack bar. So I have to have operating capital. I cannot open my door with zero cash in the bank. I have to have something. Depending on what type of business could depend on how much that needs to be. If it's a cash for service business, maybe you only need $100 to make change. But if you need to buy inventory, you've got to pay light bills and all of those types of things, you need to have more in there to be able to do that. Okay? Does that kind of make sense? I see some shaking, some. I know. It is fun stuff, right? Y'all are going to go home and dream about spreadsheets. I know that. So what do I mean when I say loan assumptions? Right? When we go buy a car, we go borrow money. Does the bank let me borrow it for 0% interest? Do your parents or somebody? Maybe. Maybe they let you. Bank does not let me borrow it interest free. And they also have terms on it. So I know for my business I need $10,000 loan. Typically, and this is where probably your mentors that you're going to be paired with can be of assistance. Todd, Morgan, and Lane, everybody can be of assistance to you and maybe saying, well, what should I assume? Because when I go to apply for my car loan is when I find out what my rate's going to be. So I have to go off of assumptions of what that rate is going to be. I assume it's probably going to be 5% and my term is going to be 5 years. And so that figured out my payment. How much am I paying in interest every month and how much I'm paying in principal, but that's my payment amount. That you need to know if you're doing a loan because you've got to include it in your financial projections as an expense because it doesn't just happen. There's got to be money budgeted, right? Okay. You do not have a spreadsheet for revenue assumptions, but we're going to talk about it for a minute because you got to figure out. So Archer's Games, I think I'm going to make $10,000 a month. Ask me why. Oh, because this is going to make $10,000 a month. Do you think so? Maybe not. I don't know that. I got to figure out how I'm going to get there. So I suggest this be part of your work, that you kind of figure it out, depending on how much you're going to charge, how many hours a day you can work, those types of things. So for me, I try to make it really simple, okay? I plan to charge $5 per person for 1 hour. I'm going to be open 4 hours a day for 7 days a week. I can accommodate up to 30 people per hour. In my world, 30 people are going to come in hour 1, hour 2, hour 3, and hour 4, okay? This is my perfect world of Archer's Games. And I assume I have full occupancy. So my max revenue, $5 times 30, $150 per hour, times that 4 hours a day, $600, times 7 days a week, $4,200. And then I just multiplied that by 4. So I said, $16,800 monthly revenue. More than my $10,000, right? But do you think I'm going to be maxed out every day? No. That's not going to happen. So even though you figure out what that max may be, you're going to have to look at some realistic ways on that. What if I'm an hourly, like I'm a website developer? You actually have to do this you may want to do that a different way because you probably need to find an hourly rate. So there are some templates that I've provided to you on pricing a product and pricing a service to see if you can at least help you along the way. So, I want to earn $25,000 a year is my take-home salary. Everybody knows take-home versus actual salary, right? Gross versus net. What's the gross part? Before everything's taken out. The only way I can remember it is a net is what I get out. A fishing net is what I get to take home, right? Have y'all, and here's my dumb question for you guys. Have y'all had like your, I don't know, state required classes with banking and things like that? Everybody's shaking their head. It's been fun, right? Okay. So, but in this example, we're just kind of I'm going through and saying, well, I have monthly expenses. I'm going to estimate I've got to pay 50% taxes because that may be a high estimate, but by the time I pay self-employment and income tax, it can be 35 to 50% of my salary, my take home. And I don't want to work more than 40 hours a week. And I'm taking two weeks off a year. So that only gives me 2,000 hours per year to work. So I need 43,500 to make my life work by 2,000 hours. So I need to charge at least $21.75 an hour minimum. Does that make sense? So so you kind of come to this realization of where you're going. Okay? Let's talk about those expenses for a minute. You don't know, right? So you've got the two sections of, did I put something? I did not put. So this is the last slide on this. So when you're looking at these projection sheets, I can't leave because I'm on camera. But when you look at these projection sheets, up here, you've got kind of an income revenue source, okay? And then down here, you have multiple expense line items. Not every expense is associated with every business, and you could have expenses that are not on here. So this may be where you need to change the spreadsheet or find something that's more accommodating to what you're looking at, okay? Let's say that you are doing a clothing store. Don't forget, there's a cost to every item that you've sold. Or a jewelry store. There's a cost of goods to every item you've sold, and you have to replenish that inventory. So that's an ongoing expense that you're going to have. Industry standards can be helpful. How much do you think you're going to spend, without telling me your business, how much do you think you'll spend, Jordan, right, on your business a month for advertising? $100? Okay. And we haven't talked about marketing, I understand that, but just kind of guessing? All right. Researching what type of advertising you want to do and how much it's going to cost you is really important. But if you're not sure how much you want to budget for something, industry standards can be helpful. And again, this goes back to send me what you want to do, and I can send you some reports that tell you what some of those industry standards are. Okay? And so, for example, I couldn't find Archer's Games Entertainment Center, but I found a bowling alley. So bowling alleys, on average, based off of the research I have, they use 1.12% of their gross profit. So if my gross profit a month is that $16,800, then I probably need to spend around $200 a month on advertising. Do y'all think that is my startup advertising budget? Probably not, because I'm going to have websites and literature and promos and swag and just I also need to get the word out very definitively to everybody that doesn't know it's a new place. And so I may have to say, I'm going to do $500 a month for the first 6 months, and then I can step that down. So you don't have to be very, very specific and stay with just industry standards, but I don't recommend just saying, I'm doing social media, it's not going to cost me anything. You probably need to have something, because no matter what, you're going to have print materials, you're going to have business cards, you may have brochures. You are going to have, how many of you all have had to go ask a business for an ad? Like in a yearbook or something like that. Our small businesses are the heart of our community, and they are typically the ones that support our school systems the most through advertising, products, things like that. How much was that ad? Do you remember? let's just say $50. All right, $50. And you did that for the yearbook or for the business? All right. Imagine the small business owner gets hit up by the cheerleader, the cheerleaders, the band, the football team, and everybody else. And they want to be an advocate for this local community. So even if, depending on how you're going to use that advertising, and I'm not trying to get into the advertising seminar, I apologize about that, but you still need to budget for what you plan on doing. Okay? And that actually was my last slide, Morgan. So since we have like 3 minutes, do you all want to discuss any specific questions about that part? So what do y'all think customer service is?
Being able to relate and talk to your customers and make professional.
Very good answer. What else?
Providing resources and services that your customers need.
Where's your favorite place to eat in town? Come on. Noah, right?
Yeah,
Noah? Where's your favorite place to eat?
up right there.
All right. Is your food always the same when you order it? Is it consistent?
Yeah,
Do you pretty much know what you're going to get when you go?
yeah, mixed up a little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they're going to bring it to you. Is it going to take real long? So why is that your favorite?
Like the food and.
You like the food? Okay. A lot of times, it's all about what we know we're going to get when we get there, too. All right. So I'm breaking customer service down into 4 principles. You do have a very specific handout that you can take notes on if you want. And y'all are going to laugh at me because I'm going to tell you it's called Give 'em the Pickle. All right? So I don't have the ability to show you the videos, but on your information, I provided you a link to to where you can find a couple videos. This concept is developed by a guy named Bob Farrell. He owned a series of restaurants, mostly ice cream shops, things like that. The reason Give 'em the Pickle was the name of it is because he had a customer, he always came, he loved the pickles. Pickles were his favorite thing, and he always asked for extra pickles. And one day when he was in line and he asked for extra pickles, the cashier said, "Great, I'll have to charge you for a side of pickles." Never charged for a side of pickles before. How do you think that made him feel as a customer?
Upset.
Do what?
Upset.
Upset? Why?
Because he's not used to that challenge.
He's not used to that change. Is it a big deal in the whole concept? Probably not. But it made him feel like he wasn't a worthy customer. Because he always got an extra pickle. They never charged him for it. And that day they charged him for it. And so that is the center of it. They're funny. They're a few minutes. They're cheesy, honestly. But there are some fun stories about these concepts. So I think that the major 4 concepts of customer service based off of his teachings are attitude and how, your own attitude, service, consistency, you're going to get the same thing, right? You may not get the same dish, but you know what it's going to be like. And teamwork. So let's talk a little bit, y'all didn't tell me that I spilled, about attitude. So how you think about the customer is how you will treat them. So if I think, oh my gosh, I wish these people would leave, they're so stupid. Hey, how are you? Can I get your order? Does that sound familiar? Have you ever been treated that way? Right? Probably. I would go as far as to say and y'all might throw me under the bus, and that's okay, that your age you might get treated with disrespect. Has that happened before? Possibly. Depending on, if they see. So how you think about them really can be how you treat them. Are you going to have a bad day sometimes? Are your employees going to have bad days? Yeah, everybody's going to have a bad day. But sometimes figuring out how to work together, teamwork, to check that attitude at the door so that you can treat your customers with respect, gratitude, being nice is very important. Y'all know the analogy, the customer's always right? Is the customer always right? According to service standards, they are. In reality, is the customer always right? No, definitely not. But trying to figure out techniques and ways to deal with that, and also policies. We're going to talk about that as well. Service. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Maya Angelou. Do y'all think that's true? I can remember, what about your grade school teachers? Do you have a favorite teacher? Maybe, some of you. Do you remember everything they said to you? Why are they your favorite?
What they said in class.
Do what?
Maybe not what they said in class.
Maybe not what they said in class. Okay, fair statement. Why are they your favorite teacher then?
So who they were.
Who they were. So it really comes down to, a lot of times, their attitude towards you and their students, and how they served you and how they made you feel creates that service experience. So these are some good life lessons in my opinion. Right? Know your customer. Are your customers just the person that's coming to buy your service? Why don't you think so? Who else is your customer? Especially if you're the business owner. Representatives, employees, vendors that you buy your products from. All of those people. So there's external customers who come in, spend their money with you. There's internal customers. Can an internal customer, so we know, we've talked about kind of that social media and, one bad comment from an external customer. Can an internal customer do damage to your business and brand? You better believe it. They might be the worst. Do y'all know what type of advocate an internal customer? What is an advocate?
Somebody to speak on someone's behalf.
Speak on someone's behalf? What were you going to say? No.
Supportive.
Supportive. I love my job. I love, I love working at an arcade. My niece works at a movie theater in Raleigh. I'm pretty sure the reason she loves it is because she gets 2 free tickets a week. Okay? Yeah, I know, right? Plus they get like employee screenings. For that part, she's probably an advocate for the movie theater. Was apathetic. Don't care. I show up, I get a paycheck. There's a display that's fell on the ground. I don't really care. I mean, there's that could be the truth. Stuff needs to be stocked. I was a cashier at a grocery store, and I knew the nightly routine was, if you don't have people in your line, you go ahead and you start wiping counters down, the ready to buy items, candies, gums, things like that. You start putting it together, all of those types of things. And no, I didn't love doing it, but I knew that was part of what made that store look nice. And I knew that was part of my job to make that happen. So I did it as cheerfully as I could at that moment. Do you think everybody did? Probably not. They didn't tell me to do it. Why do I do it? They just don't care. What's an assassin? An internal and external customer. What are they doing? They are, man, what that person, what my boss did? They wouldn't let me off for me to go to the football game. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit. But they would not let me off work. They just, they're just so awful. Did they have to? Not necessarily. But if you turn around and start saying things that aren't true, I mean, you may be an assassin to their business. So, your external and internal customers really can fall into 3 categories. What kind of customers do we want, internal and external? Advocates. We want them to love us. So, statistics tell us 7 out of 10 complaining customers will do business with you again if you resolve their complaint in their favor. Is the customer always right? Maybe in some way. Truthfully, probably not. But is there a way maybe to come to a middle agreement? You could. If you resolve it on the spot, 95% will do business with you again. That goes back. So there's also, when you're talking about your internal and external customers in regards to customer service, you do have to give employees some credibility, some leeway, some standards and parameters. Okay, well, if this happens, you have the authority, if the plate came out wrong or they sent their dinner back, you have the authority to comp 1 meal for them, that type of thing. Some people learn how to abuse a system. You have to figure those trends out with individuals. But giving your employees the opportunity to make those decisions can do a world of good on customer service in multiple ways, because you're empowering them to have a say in what happens, to be able to take care of problems. So it's a ripple effect that they are a advocate for your business. The customer that they're helping solve the problem for can become an advocate for your business. Okay? Consistency. What we are, what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but habit. What if we always do, if we always do it the way we've always done it, what's going to happen? It's always going to be done the way it's always been. Do you need to think outside the box? Sometimes? Yeah. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. But why do you go to the Mexican restaurant? You like the food and you know it's going to be good. Is that consistent? There's a consistency in what they provide. The customers come back because they like the way they were treated during the last visit. They know what product or service they're going to get. So it's your job to set high standards. It's your job as the owner to have everyone stick to that. Is this a good principle for owning a business or being an employee or a manager somewhere? Yes. Train your employees to stick to those standards every time. What could be a problem? What could happen for me not to stick to those standards? I come in and my boyfriend just broke up with me. I'm married, but so we won't talk about that. But so it happens. I mean, that's maybe the problem. That's a whole different problem. But say that we understand. We come in and I've just, something happened. I got a bad grade, had a really bad day. And, you cannot necessarily always tell your employee, look, check your attitude at the door. I don't care. That's not necessarily, because they're also what? They're your internal customer. You may need to take them and say, do you want to talk for a minute? Let them get it off their chest, whatever may be happening. Okay, you think you can give me this next shift and then we'll go from there? So there's a lot that happens to help create that consistency that your customers come to expect. All right. Is everybody working their own silo? So what you do impacts each team member and impacts the customer. So just like a wheel, spokes on the wheel, every spoke has a job to help keep that wheel turning. If you take too many of those out, what's going to happen? It could be unstable, fall to the ground, all of those types of things. So what are ways What are ways you can help build up your team members? Offering incentives. It's a great way. What else?
Make sure it's a
Happy work environment. Not toxic. I like to use that word.
Provide benefits.
Provide benefits. What if you can't provide benefits, though? What if it's just not feasible?
Then you revert back to incentives.
Revert back to what?
Incentives.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, there might be other things you can do. Maybe it's not health benefits, but maybe there's,
You could offer vacation hours and
yeah, maybe there's vacation hours, just time off. Maybe, do what? Buy lunch for everybody. Right. You know, well, all right, so I listen to the radio. There's a plumbing business, I think in Roanoke, called Whistler Plumbing. Have y'all, come on. Do y'all know what they serve every morning? How do you know that? Says on the radio. Why do they say that?
to make you want to live there.
Make you want to work there.
If I came into school every morning, they had sausage biscuits laid out, I'd like coming to school anymore.
I can't imagine. A sausage biscuit might make you an advocate for school.
Maybe not entirely, but
Maybe at least apathetic. Okay. But it's a perk. It's something, it's like buying a meal for everyone, but I know that I'm going to have a hot breakfast every morning when I go to work. That can just make me feel good. And that can create an internal customer that's an advocate for your business as well. So teamwork, stepping in and helping somebody when they need it. So what are other things about customer service that don't necessarily fall into those 4 categories? Can you hear me now? So what if I got up here and I was like, what am I telling y'all? I don't want to be here. Why not? What makes you think that? Just because the way I look, right? So, body language, I can say, oh, it is an awful day outside. I can't believe the horrible day it is. Okay, what did I say? I said something really negative, but I was not necessarily as going, oh, so bad, like this. So body language has a large impact in that customer service model and how you talk to individuals, keeping them engaged, not being distracted if at all possible, being involved, especially if there's a complaint, being involved with that customer in order to help resolve that. What are different variations of body languages? Posture, head, eye contact. What do you all notice very first, usually? Facial expressions. Yeah, what if I just talked like this the whole time? And actually, I just looked at the camera the whole time. How would that go? You all would be asleep by now. Okay? Because we're talking about fun stuff here. I mean, it's dry, but I know it's enjoyable. Yes, I'm lying. So, all right. And dealing with challenging customers. Are you going to have that challenging customer? Yeah. Should you, if they come in and say, I cannot believe that you allow your employees to do this, should you shoot back and say, well, who are you to say that? Probably not. Trying to stay calm yourself. That's a hard one for all of us. Because what's our natural tendency? My natural tendency is to fight back. And I think it's just human tendency. So it's a learned skill. It's not a given skill. Letting them vent till the end. Letting them vent for 30 minutes is not what I'm saying. But letting them vent to tell you what's wrong, you may figure out at the end what they came to you about is not actually the problem. It could be something else. They may have only had 10 minutes to run in because their daughter is sick, but yet they did not get the assistance they needed. Are they mad because they didn't get the assistance they needed, or are they upset because their daughter's sick? It could be more than one thing. So they're listening to what they're saying. Deal with the emotion first. I'm sorry you feel that way. Again, customers, it's fun to work. Trying to avoid emotional trigger words. We'll talk about that in just a second. You may have abusive customers. Gently confront them, but are you ever required to stay into if you were to be talked down upon, especially in vulgar language, those types of things? That may be something you need to set up as an employee policy. As a cashier at a grocery store, we had a gentleman. He was very vulgar to one of the cashiers, and he was just not nice. Customer's always right did not happen that day because our manager told him to leave the store, that he could vent his complaints, but he did not have to use that language. So there may be times that every principle you learn goes out the door, but pick when those times are, okay? And delay action, consult a second opinion if you can. Trigger words. That's not our policy. How does that make you feel? Well, I just can't do that. I can't refund your money. Here's what we can do. So maybe it's not your policy, but you know it's not your policy, but maybe you have given your employee authority to do something very specific, comp a meal 50%. Maybe they want their meal fully comped, or they want their whole ticket fully comped. Instead of saying, well, that's not our policy, we can't do that. Well, here's what we can do. Why don't we comp your meal and then give you one other 50% off? We can do that. Okay, I guess I'll live with that, right? Thank you for telling us. You may find out something you didn't know that's happening in your store or your place of business. If you don't know, and I will tell you that right now, I don't know the answer to every question in regards to small business. But as a network, I have the opportunity to find out because I work with many other partners and colleagues around the area and around the state. So let me find that out for you. Can I get back to you? And, she ever say, you should have done this. Probably not. Well, I understand why. So that's just, trying to avoid trigger words. And sometimes you may have to apologize because your store, your employee, they could have done something wrong. So there's multiple things you have to do in that situation. Number one, you have to take care of the customer, right? I'm sorry. There's not really an excuse for what happened. This is what we're going to do. Thank you. We hope you'll be back. So what do y'all think Mr. Farrell could have done in the case of the pickles? If he had known immediately. Gave him 2 pickles. Maybe he wrote him a coupon for free pickles for life. That would probably be a little bit over the top, but
Didn't charge him for that time and just told him for future reference.
yeah. We're right. So but he had never been charged before from any cashier, but that day he was. So what else did he need to do? He needed to make a decision and make sure everybody in that restaurant was on the same page as to what their policy was. And so, hey, give them the pickle. That's, sometimes that 35 cents is not worth it. So give them the pickle. Y'all get a break from me.
This is great what you all are doing. It's really going to be good for your futures. And have you already started your planning process? Is that right? Have you already started your business plan? No, not yet, but you're going to be, right? Well, marketing involves all of that, all right? And I teach an entire chapter on a business plan and how to create a business plan. I'm not going to teach the entire chapter today, but I'm going to go over some of the key points. And what do you guys think marketing is? That's not marketing. What do you think marketing is? If you had to guess. That's the definition of a market. All potential customers who have the ability and willingness to buy. But what about marketing in general?
Being able to network with
Okay.
the people who have been,
All right. So being able to network with your people. So what do you mean by network?
like being able to market your business.
Okay. Market your business. Take it a step further. What does market your business mean?
To use advertising.
Advertising. Okay. Advertising. Very good. All right. And as a marketer, we don't say advertising anymore. All right. So advertising is exactly right, except we're going to use a different word. We're going to use promotion. All right. Promotion. We're going to promote our product. Okay. So there are 4 P's that you have to know, and I would write these down. I was about to bring some notes, interactive notes, and I thought, last minute, no, they don't want to sit here and write notes down. But you know what? I should have brought them. But anyway, so these 4 P's of marketing are vital, important. All right. Does anybody know any of them? I have 7-1 promotion. Anybody know the rest of them? Ever heard them? Product. Good. Product. Place. Product. Place. Promotion. And price. Promotion, product, place, and price. Those are the 4 essential components of marketing that you have to have for your product for it to be successful. All right, and then all of those go into one thing. It's about the customer. Everything's about the customer. Just like she talked about getting that customer's willingness to buy and their ability to buy. And you have to figure that out. That's the hardest part of marketing, is figuring out who your customer is. Okay? So we're going to take it down to another step and look at a target market. So a market as a whole is, okay, I could sell water to anyone, right? That's just to a regular market. A target market is whenever you take a specific product, all right, and you're looking to sell to someone specifically. So, focusing all your marketing efforts on a very specific group of people who you want to reach, all right? So, you've got to think when you're creating your product, who am I making it for? Am I going to make it for, if I'm in the industry of swimsuits, am I going to sell swimsuits in Antarctica? Probably not, right? Probably going to try to sell them in Florida or on the coast, right? Somewhere where it's hot. So target market. And I'm not going to go into much of these because she's talked about it, but customer, just people who want to buy the product, consumer, people who actually use the product. Obviously, in here you guys know this already, but the mom in this example here, is she the consumer or the customer? She's both, yes. She's both the consumer and the customer. What about the kids? They are just the consumer, right? Okay. Business to business versus business to consumer, all right? So a business to business is a business that markets its product or services to other businesses. Can you think of an example of that? What is a business that markets its products or services to other businesses? Clothing. All right. What kind of clothing are you talking about? Give me an example.
Like different brands market to stores like Target. That
Right.
distribute.
Very good. Very good. So, clothing industry, all right, they target different businesses to then sell their product, right? They don't sell it outright most of the time. Okay. Now, the Fort Chiswell volleyball, all right, that was probably made by a small business. All right. Where did you buy that? Did you get it through the school or?
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder, we'll say they got it from All Around Sports downtown Withville. We'll just say that. All right. He creates his product, right, at his store, and then he sells it. So is he looking for a business to business or business to consumer? Business to consumer. All right. A business that markets its products or services directly to consumers. All right. So whenever you're developing your business plan, you have to decide whether you want to be a business to business or business to consumer. All right. All right. So this is one of the most important parts of all of marketing. All right. Every marketing course you're ever going to take, every marketing technique. Everyone that you've ever talked to that is a marketer knows about the SWOT analysis. We took a trip to Tri-Cities Airport last week, and the person that was our tour guide of Tri-Cities Airport was their marketer. She was the one that markets the airport, and she was one of the owners as well, or one of the governors that sat on the board. And she mentioned the SWOT analysis to our kids in the tour. That's how important it is. All right, so strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. All right? And when you're dealing with the SWOT analysis, you're going to look at your company as a whole, all right? And you're going to come up with, what are my strengths? This is good to do in your planning, too, of your business. What are my strengths going to be? Okay? And that is an internal issue. What about my weaknesses? So let's look at a company. Let's think of a company. Let's look at Apple. All right? So what is Apple's, so Apple products, what are their strengths? Computers and phones. So what about the computers and phones? What is the strength about that? So, very good. So they've become a popular item, all right? They've got their product out there as seen as the best, right? Is it necessarily the cheapest? No, but it's seen as the quality is the best. Now, some would argue that. People that have Androids might argue. What is a weakness? The price range would be a weakness. Good. Price range. What could be their opportunities in their future, which is an external factor? Okay, so they could drop their cost, but they would have to figure out how to drop their cost without messing with their quality, right? Because people, it's a proven fact with Apple that people will pay for quality, right? So they have to figure out how to drop their prices without hurting their quality. All right, and threats. Microsoft, Android, right? Those are Apple's biggest threats. So a SWOT analysis. All right, marketing segmentation. A way of analyzing a market by specific characteristics in order to define the target market. So you're going to break a customer down, or a market of customers. Or you're going to break it down and try to figure out what the target is, what your target market needs to be. That is market segmentation. We're going to talk about different types. You have demographics, all right, appearances, age. Well, I'm going to go through them here in just a second. Psychographics, geographics, and behavioral. Those are the four segmentations of a market segment, or four segments of a market segmentation. All right, let's look at demographics really quick. All right, so demographics is statistics that describe a population in terms of personal characteristics. These demographics include age, your gender, marital status, ethnic background. All right? You guys know what gender or what age you are? Which generation? Generation Z. What is it? What is the code name for it called? Like I'm a millennial. What are you guys? I can't remember. But there's another word for it. Yeah, but they've come up with some kind of name. I know I'm a millennial, but y'all are not millennials anymore. They're called something else. I can't remember what it was. We looked at it in my class last time.
Just Gen Z is what I'm coming up with.
Just Gen Z? Well, maybe they haven't kind of a code name for it yet, but they will. All right. So, and this is an interesting fact, and I normally pull up the numbers when we talk about this, but in the United States, the percentage of Caucasian population is declining, and other ethnic groups are now becoming the majority, and you see this all around in schools, in the streets, everywhere. It's becoming, and you have to market to people differently. All right, so based on their ethnic background, okay, you can market to them differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's in order to sell your product. All right, psychographics involves grouping people with similar lifestyles as well as share attitudes, values, and opinions. All right, so I put this picture of a gamer right here, all right? That would be somebody that marketed to me pretty well, all right? I like to game sometimes. I don't much anymore than now I'm playing adulthood, so I don't get to anymore. But I used to love to game, all right? So PlayStations and Xbox, I would spend lots and lots of money on that. Are you a gamer? So would I go to market towards you? Would you be my target market for selling a gaming device to? No. Most of the time in the gaming world, they look at teenage males. All right, some females too now. It's becoming. Did any of you all game? Oh, we got two. Okay, two. Now you see a lot of females that like to game, but now used to, not so much. It was all teenage males. All right, your attitudes towards things, your personality and values, all right, all make up the psychographics of a segmentation. All right, music teachers, dancers, and other music lovers would be a category of people who share the same psychographic characteristics. All right, this one's simple. I'm not going to spend much time here. Geographics, just where people live, all right, based on your location. Okay, you're going to target, your target market could change based on where you live. So your political boundary, we're not going to get into that. Climate, natural boundary, all kinds of things just based on where you live to where you would target someone. All right. So, and that could be something like, what is something that would sell in Florida that might not sell in New York? A boat. All right, good. What's something that would sell in Southwest Virginia that might not sell in New York? A tractor. Good. Right? Tractor. You might see a lot of tractors and big trucks and cowboy boots in Southwest Virginia, but are you going to see a whole lot of that in New York? Maybe not. Right? Maybe not. So you would market to them based on where they live. All right, and the last one is behavioral. And you're looking at the benefits desired by consumers, shopping patterns, usage rate, your marketing benefits, and it's not just the physical characteristics of the product. All right, so running shoe, I'm going to target a runner. All right, hair products, used to, you would target females. Now, we guys like to have our products in our hair, right? My brother, it's like the end of the world if he leaves his stuff to fix his hair at home. All right, so now that one's a little bit skewed, but whatever product you make, it's normally targeted at an individual, a group. All right, the 80-20 rule, okay, 80-20 rule, 80% of company sales are generated by 20% of loyal customers. All right, and that's important. That's very important. 80% of company sales are generated by 20% of loyal customers. And used to, marketers would say that I'm going to try to reach everyone. I'm going to try to reach this entire crowd of people to market my product to. No longer is that the smartest thing to do. Now, niche marketing is the new technique. Niche marketing. All right, so used to, you would come over here and you see the picture on the left. You would try to reach every one of those people, all right? A big group, mass marketing people, all right? Why? Because you can sell your product to a lot of different people at once. They're all happy about it, all right? But what does it really matter if they don't come back? So that's why niche marketing is when you narrow down and define the market into a singular person, all right? So the theory is once I get this guy hooked on my product, all right? Once he thinks it's the best one out there, he's going to be loyal to it. All right. Think about Apple, our Apple example. How many of you have had Apple for 10 years? I have. Or Android. You could substitute Android too. It could be Android or Apple. But once you have it, you're stuck on it. You're hooked. All right. You're a loyal customer. So they focus now on one individual, and then once they have him hooked as a loyal customer, they go to the next. All right, they get them hooked on their product. They want that loyal customer base. All right, loyal customer base. Almost done. All right. So the last thing and this is all of this that we're talking about with target market, segmentation, is all based on your return on your investment. All right. And this is all kind of focused on profits that you can get for your labor. All right. For all this time and effort you're putting in. So a return on your marketing investment is a measurement organizations calculate that helps them evaluate their marketing investment. All right. So basically, whenever you have say you have $1 million in profits in 2017, okay, and you decide that that's just not enough. We're spending more than what we're making, so I've got to take a different approach. And they look at it and they say, I don't have any marketing, I don't have hardly any promotion or advertising into my business, so they are going to up that. And they're going to put maybe $1 million into marketing. All right. So the ROMI would be a calculation after that, after a year of using marketing efforts, what is your gains? Do you see an increase? And you do it every year. You run an ROMI every year. All right. And that will tell you if your marketing efforts are making a profit for your company. All right. And if your company stalls, it's probably because they need new marketing efforts. Why every time that an iPhone comes out, isn't there something crazy on the commercials that you see that they kind of make it look cool? The iPhone 11 right now, they've got all kinds of things. The cameras, I think what they're really focusing on now. I know the XS and all that, they were focusing on waterproof. All right. That's why that got me hooked on it. I was like, yes, I'm going to get waterproof. And it really does work. My phone, I have the XS Max, and I dropped it in the river this summer for 35 minutes. Works fine. It took me 35 minutes to find it. And it was probably 4 foot underwater for 35 minutes. No issues at all. No case on it either. So, yeah, it works. So that really helps too whenever something happens and it actually works. So your ROMI is your return on your marketing investment. And a few metrics or tools used to evaluate those marketing plans. And everything that we've talked about deals with planning. So when you go into planning your business, these are things you need to take into consideration. All right, this is all about planning. So your sales, profit, what is market share? It's important. Who owns the cell phone industry market share? 2 companies, right? Pretty much. Android and Apple. They own 100%, probably like 95% of the cell phone world, right? Used to, there was BlackBerry and all these other ones that you probably never even heard of that owned part of it, and then now they own all the market share. So you want to own a big part of the market share. All right, that's the goal, is for you to own a big part of it. Be the best at selling your product than anyone else. All right? Growth versus your previous year. So you always want to see growth, all right, compared to the previous year. All right? You can compare it from years past, but always go off the previous year first. Okay, that'll tell you the most recent gains. Comparison with competitors, exposure, and brand awareness. All right, so all these things go into marketing planning. All right, well, that's all I have. Any questions about any of that? Did I bore you to death? No?
So, you're going to write this business plan. What are you going to do with it? You're going to give it to me? What am I going to do with it? Okay. You're going to give it to Morgan, but okay. All right. What do you think business owners do with their business plan after it's done?
They submit to financial planners and investors.
Right. A lot of times they do. So they get their money, they open the doors, and they start wearing those 10,000 hats for all these things we've talked about. What happens to that plan? It probably is going on the shelf to collect dust is the correct answer. I could see it. It's going on the shelf. You have daily ins and daily outs that are just taking up your time. So what do you need to maybe plan on doing? Well, let's stop for a minute. How do you all define success? for yourself? Do you go into business to fail? I mean, is that your point? No. Nobody goes in to say, you know what, I'm just going to open the doors because I don't think it'll work. You go in because you want to succeed. Do you own a magic 8-ball that can tell you exactly what the future's going to hold? I mean, a real one? No, we don't. Life is going to happen. Economy's going to happen. All those things. So success is definitely not guaranteed. But what you want to do is you want to try to create some blueprints for your company just in case, if at all possible. So, you know, those blueprints need to encompass, in that blueprint's a business plan. It could be you get into maybe strategic plans too. That's a more advanced business. But that needs to include a lot of different things. It needs to include, you know, the character of your type of business, your personal goals. What are your personal financial resources? Contingencies of what if. So when you go, you know, do you build a house without blueprints? Why not? There's no plan. What if that blueprint is made and then, you know, the construction, they start digging and they find just something in the rock, the bedding that they thought was going to be really sturdy for the house is not, and it's not legal. What happens? You reevaluate and you start looking. So taking it from, you know, concept to reality. So a business plan has a lot of different purposes. It can be to just figure out what you want to do. What are my regulations? How do I get there? But then as your business grows and as you want to see it succeed, it may become a more detailed document encompassing all of this type of information. Again, you know, your personal goals, what ifs. What is the capacity I have? I'm one person. Do I have employees? Does my family help me run it? Does it not? You know, there's only so much you can do in a day's time. So like you said, I think I repeated that one accidentally. We'll just skip it. Due diligence. What else should a business plan do? What questions should you be asking yourself throughout the process to help make your business successful? Is it feasible? What does that mean? Can you do it? Right. Is it viable? Just, I think you said what, tractor, you know, maybe if you live on a lake, you should have a boat store. But if you live in the Midwest, should you guarantee that the boat store is going to be your dime? Probably not. Yeah. And is it desirable? Taking that target market, is that something they want in there, in this area? You know, just like a plant, if the sun stops shining, the business can't grow. All right, contingency. What if? Well, things in life happen, so it's when, not if. Right? So what's going to happen or when it's going to happen. Being prepared. There are lots of business issues that can happen. One of the top business issues that's out there right now is cybersecurity. Small businesses, even with only a couple employees, if something happens and you do have credit card numbers or you have personal information on clients, say that you're only a business of 5 and all that information gets out, the cost to you could be, I don't know what the estimation is, but it could be like $500,000, $600,000. Because under legal laws, you are liable for that information getting out, so you have to be the one that helps cover their information and credit reports and various things like that. So cybersecurity is a big one right now.
Did you see in Smith County?
No,
Smith
help
County,
her.
they had a malware attack and took all of their teachers in the whole county, all their information. Every computer was shut down for 3.5 weeks. And the hacker did not steal anything, but they got in and shut down all of their.
Just for fun.
Just for fun, they lost everything. All the teachers lost every file that was saved on the computer. They lost every file at the school board office.
Mm-hmm.
It was
That's
awful.
a nightmare.
Yep. And it was just in Smith County.
So what's something they could have done? I'm not ask- that maybe, I mean, the malware attack happened. The malware, somebody got in. They lost all the data on that. What is another step they could have done to help prevent from losing all that data? Maybe a certain type of backup that has an extra layer of protection from the cybersecurity world. Right. Paper trails. What's paper trails these days? What's paper files these days? I'm just kidding. I know. I'm still a paper file person, but it is, yeah, reinventing all that. So, also things that'll happen are lifestyles, personal schedules, friends, family, things like that. So if you want to try to, this can also be part of your SWOT analysis too. One of the things that I think about that are strengths and weaknesses that can be a strength and a weakness of a business. Say that it's a family-owned restaurant and they have 5 employees, the cook, the manager, the front of the house, and a waitress are all family, and then there's a waitress that's not family member. And what if grandma gets sick, like really sick, and everybody needs to be by her bedside? So the strength, maybe it's a strength that it's a family operated business. Can that be a strength? But what's the weakness there?
One thing happens in the family,
Everybody
everybody stops.
stops.
We actually had that play out in Louisville.
I saw that. That's why that was an example. I saw it on social media. Actually, that's where I saw it. I saw it on social media. And they were closed down because grandma was sick, right? Or something of that nature. So, there's a strength in, hey, we're a family-operated business. We enjoy this. We get along, and it has certain principles. The weakness can be, well, not everybody can go to family activities. And that's kind of personal, I understand, but that's personal of a contingency of what if, okay? Luckily, I do not have to go through this because Tyler was kind enough to cover that. These are just maybe some what I would say teaser questions to help you with that information. The biggest thing to remember is your strengths and weaknesses are internal and opportunities and threats are external, okay? So, is a problem, everything's going to be hunky-dory in your business. I have no idea. But mine, just so you know, I'm going to open Archer's Games. We're going to have reality games, various things like that. I'm going to win the lottery so that I can open that here in Withville, okay? Pool tables. So what if I wanted to do virtual reality games, but the licensing for it became so astronomical that I just can't afford it as a small business? Is that a problem? I don't know. I'm making it up.
I thought you won the lottery.
I won the lottery. There was only so much money in my lottery.
It was just enough to cover the cost.
It was just enough to cover the cost of opening. But I had to generate revenue to keep operations. Deal? Okay. All right. So I've experienced a crisis. Like, I can't afford to operate this business anymore. But I need to probably look for some type of opportunity. I don't know what that is because I'm not a gamer, but as far as maybe there's an opportunity to bring a different type of interactive, maybe bringing Magic back or Dungeons and Dragons or something of that nature. Yes, y'all can laugh at me. I'm just coming up with stuff off the top of my head. So taking whatever problem you run into and seeing, yes, every problem can be a crisis, especially when you are wearing 10 to 12 hats as a business owner. Try to find the opportunity in that when you can, okay? All right, so let's talk about one. Has anybody ever seen Singing in the Rain? A couple people? Okay. Do you know what it's about? All right, it's about, movie theater company. If I remember right, it's Monumental Theater or something of that nature. Movie theater company, that's when we just did talking pictures. Y'all know what talking pictures are? I mean, silent pictures, right? There was no talking, nothing of that nature. And so there was this kind of thing going up that they were going to start making talkies. What do you think talkies were? When they talked in, right? Action and talking at the same time versus just action and subtitles. So not everybody was on board with it. Especially at Monumental movie production company. Well, why should we do this? Was that a crisis? But their competition was going to do it. So they had this major movie that was getting ready to come out, Dueling Cavaliers. It was going to be a silent movie with captions on it. And their competitor was in the middle of producing a talkie film. What do you think was going to happen when both of those hit? They were going to watch one or the other. They're probably going to go see what the new one is, right? What's this thing? What? You can hear them on film? I don't have to read it? So what do you think? They had said talkies will never amount to anything at that time. What do you think happened? What do you know happened? It progressed. And now we've got digital screen, 3D. So it could have been a crisis, but Monumental Theater said, you know what, we're going to try it. The other part of that, though, was that the lead actress, when she was talking, she had a very high-pitched, squeaky voice and could not sing. It was a musical. So what do y'all think so is that a crisis? Because they already have the lead actress, they already have the lead actor. They decide in the middle of production that they are going to have it as a talking movie instead of a subtitle movie where there's no voices. The actress has nasally, high-pitched, kind of screeching type voice. What happens? Voiceover. So they ended up using a voiceover. So there was a crisis. They found an opportunity to solve it. What would have happened if you think they had released that film in its state with the high-pitched squeakiness? I probably would not have gone back to one of their films, would I? More than likely not. So, all right. Have y'all ever read this book? Who Moved My Cheese? I would recommend it. I would recommend it for your class. It's a short read. I mean, I read it in a day, less than probably a very short time. And it goes along the same principles, okay? It's about change. You sometimes have to change and you have to look for the opportunities because everything is not always going to be exactly the same way it is as far as our outside factors in operating our business. So we as customers want consistency when we go to visit our business, but economies, outside factors, weather, disasters, anything of that nature, they can all play factors and create problems. So you have to use your experiences and try to look for ways to deal with that change and overcome it. Okay? Because it's going to happen. So anticipate it, monitor it, and then try to figure out if you can enjoy it. I'm not a change person. Who here loves change? I've got 2 people that love change. Depending on if it's good change? Right. But it's still hard no matter what. Can y'all teach me a few tricks? Okay. So success to me might be growing my business. What do you all think success is to you? Maybe it's winning scholarship. Maybe it's trying it. There can be a lot of different definitions of what success is to you. And so when you're looking at a business plan, I encourage you not for your success factor to be, I want to be a millionaire, or I want to sit at home and tell other people what to do. Success factor is really about personal goals and happiness and other things associated with your life. Okay? Oh, we might have added these in. When you actually get into business, not one of the documents you all have to do, cash and profits are not the same thing. When you're doing your checkbook, what you have is what you have in there, but that when you're doing, profit of a business and what you made at the end of the year versus expenses versus the cash that's in your account, not necessarily the same. So you can be a profitable business, but be very cash poor. So those are things you need to think about. That's when an accountant and a bookkeeper come in to assist. Decide some things about your business. Do I really need the big white Cadillac to sell insurance? Do I need to pay my cousin Phil $20 an hour when it's really an $8 an hour job? So sometimes you need to make hard decisions when it's your business, but that will contribute to your bottom line and to your success factors. You all might have heard us talking about this, and in the back, we were talking about records, that most businesses fail not because they don't have a great idea and because they know what they're doing. It really comes down to understanding the premise, the record keeping, the accounting. If you don't know how to do it, that's fine. Find your weakness and contract and meet with other people to help you do that. I don't think they're worrying about insurance, really, are they? Just know that you've got to have insurance for your business. This goes back to some risks associated. Don't mix personal and business funds or debts, separate banks accounts, proper insurance. You can't have business if you don't have customers, and that's it. Now, everybody has at least one question, right? It can even be for Tyler.